is a recess meeting, a continuation of a recess meeting. Thank you all for coming. Kim, would you call the roll, please?
I will. Mr. Bradley?
Here.
Ms. Quetch? Here. Mr. Webb?
Here.
Ms. Patterson?
Here.
And Mayor Craig.
Here. Okay, the first item, Cam's here, and we don't want him to have to go through the budget, is a closed session. Tyler, you want to make a motion to go into closed session?
Yes, I'd like to move that the Abington Town Council convene in closed session to discuss the following. As permitted by Virginia Code 2.23711A1, a personnel matter involving performance, evaluation of job assignments of specific employees, demotion, discipline of just that, I'm sorry, that's all.
Okay, motion by Ms. Quetch to go into closed session, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Patterson. Any discussion? Kim, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig.
Aye. Okay, we'll be in closed session. Hopefully it won't be too long, Chuck. But this
supposed to again. I'll notarize.
I forgot you in there. I got some.
Cam, thanks for a while.
Yes, thank you.
Yes,
Good evening.
thank you, Cam.
I move that the town council certify that in the closed session just concluded, nothing was discussed except the matter or matters specifically identified in the motion to convene in closed session and lawfully permitted to be discussed under the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act cited in that motion.
Motion by Ms. Quetch to go into open session. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Patterson second. Vice Mayor Patterson second. Is there any discussion? Okay, Kim, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bradley, do you so certify?
I so certify.
Ms. Quetch?
I so certify.
Mr. Webb?
I so certify.
Ms. Patterson?
I so certify.
And Mayor Craig?
I so certify. Okay, council, we're gonna have a brief recess and then we'll get to the hard work of the budget.
Okay.
Well, I've heard of it.
Wonderful.
tell him that I said that Kurt's a liar? Because we both pledged that we would never work for a city or a county because of schools, jails, landfills, and constitutional officers.
Okay.
He went on to work for a county and a city.
He hadn't been a manager for several years, didn't he?
Yeah.
We're ready, Your
All
Honor.
right, we're ready. All right, we got Al's proposal up there. That's the blue. And here's the rules we agreed on. If you change Al's proposal, you got it, if you cut it, you've got to put it in contingency or put it somewhere else, or if you add to it, you've got to balance it out. So we'll change his total then.
Okay.
Is that right, Ralph?
Yeah, now, I think there are a couple of mistakes here,
Okay.
and our treasurer needs to point that out.
Well, there's a couple that, like the District 3, the government co-op, the 4833 is kind of like the membership fee to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So it's already in the budget.
That's fine.
Now, I didn't understand, I didn't know if Mr. Bradley was looking at funding some of those additional routes that was presented the other day, or what he was thinking about, but there's already in the transit, there's already the 24,000 and some odd dollars for the quarterly payments that we do for using the service or utilizing the service. So that's already in there, and I mentioned, I think I may email Mr. Bradley and Mr. Benham, told him I think we ought to just pull this out completely, put it in the transit budget and not deal with it as a non-departmental request whatsoever.
The whole 4833, all of it?
Yeah, I'd put it all in the non-departmental, or out of the non-departmental and into its own budget line to where.
So we get to add 4833 back, right?
Yeah, well, he had 20 in
You're saying
there.
4833, I'm looking at 20,000.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had.
Yeah,
4833 is over here, just.
yeah.
But it's already taken care of though.
It's already in there.
So we get 20 back right off the bat.
20,000, that's good.
Yeah.
Better
All
than
right.
that.
That's terrific. And is everybody in agreement that we
Yes.
want to do the?
How do y'all
I'm
want
on
me to
it
do
right now.
this?
Yeah, everybody's in
All
agreement.
right, good.
We're just gonna start from the top?
Put it.
Whatever you want to change, yeah, if you want to do it that way, it's fine, go ahead.
I wasn't saying I wanna change it, I'm just saying, we're gonna start from the
Just
top.
go ahead. Whatever anybody wants to change in the House proposal, go ahead.
Maybe we better start off by telling the public that the reason why we're doing this, we need to explain to them that we have.
We're in a meeting, Cindy, we're not explaining to the public, I'm sorry. We need to get to the budget.
Chuck, was there another one?
Yeah, well, the library's already funded as well. We pulled those out, they're already funded. That was another one.
I had him in there.
Uh,
Nice piece that we did. Right here.
These county is funding.
That one's out too.
One's out, so we got ourselves
We got another
7,500.
7,500 fuel rate right there. Hey, that's sweet.
did they include that one?
Is it under Kevin Wiley's budget?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we
It's on
took
here
Blake
too.
Tractor completely out, right? Okay.
Glade is under Kevin Worley, he's got the stat agreement. The other one that I didn't know and I asked Mr. Benham about, because I wasn't sure what the county had done, is the incubator. I thought we had some type
Yeah,
of
now,
cooperative agreement.
I'm pretty
that
sure we can't
that
not
we
give
had
them
to
that.
fund it at the same level the county did.
Yeah, we've got to
Yeah,
fund that.
we've got to fund whatever, half
We've
of
got to
whatever.
agree with
Yeah,
it.
32
so
back
we've
then.
got to.
So you need to change that to 32,000.
Would it be helpful?
It's in the budget, right?
Yeah, what I've put over here is a column. Would it be easier if we agreed upon amounts, we put down here and we just keep a total of
Yeah,
them?
we can,
Yeah,
yeah,
that'd
sure,
be great.
sure.
That way I don't mess with what Mr. Bradley's
Right.
proposed and,
There's nothing sacrosanct about what I did.
yeah, I just thought it'd be easier to just keep track of it that way and,
So now
see where we're at.
did we pull out the incubator out of this non-departmental?
No, we have to
No,
leave it
but
in there.
but we have
put
to fund it.
32,000.
Yeah, we don't have a choice
You've
on
got
that.
22, we have to make it 32. So there's 10,000.
So go down here and put that.
Maybe Derek's got the right idea. Al's got 15,000 in for the Virginia Highlands Festival.
Yeah.
Is everybody all right with that?
Honestly, I
Last year
can't,
it was 30.
I personally think we ought to put more than that in there. I just think that's gonna be taking half of their money. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. How do y'all feel?
Well, I put 25 on my sheet, but
I mean, I don't mind to cut it some, but I just feel like, you know, if we cut half of it, we may,
I think we saved $27,500 somewhere for that, District 3.
yeah, I'd just
Public
put it
library.
back up to 25.
I mean, 25 seems like a much less severe,
Sort of.
I had 20,000.
you had 20 in there?
Yeah, I would really like 20,000. I think we're gonna have to cut some of these larger items. I looked at their budget and it doesn't appear that it would be too damaging. So, what do you think, Cindy?
I think that's good, that, you know, we could do the 20. I would like to tell you that, one positive thing I learned, if you wanna go like this and balance, you know, the antique market has to pay, for, the use of the fairgrounds, and this is gonna come under Washington County Fair. So right now, they're paying Washington County Fairgrounds $19,500 for rental of the building for that, antique
Antique
festival.
festival.
I thought that was significant, but what happened was they're saving $12,000, because the Virginia Highlands Community College was charging them $12,000 more than that. So I learned that, and that's a good savings, so I think that 20,000 sounds good to me.
Okay.
I'm giving the.
So is the consensus 20,000?
I'm fine.
That's kind of a compromise.
Yeah, that's a compromise.
Which one is that?
Yeah.
The first
That's
line
Virginia
item.
Highlands.
20 million.
20,000.
So just keep that in mind when we get down to Washington County Fair.
Sure.
Okay. Depot artists.
By the way, you have here, you all have these,
Yes, with the county's
With the county's.
provision.
All right, Al's proposing 3,000 for the depot. The request was,
I think that's okay.
Yeah, it's good,
it's good with me.
yeah.
The Corliss Christmas Parade, 0, I'm kind of questioning.
I gave them 500.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun event in town.
That's what
It's
I'd like to
pretty busy last
give
year,
them.
so.
the town contributes to the streets and the police department and the fire department and everything
Yeah, I
else to
agree, I
that.
agree
You know,
with that.
I don't know why we have to give them money too, but, you know, I'm listening to you all just.
It's just.
You are right if we go out with
It's
that.
just.
Feeding America,
I'll get by.
Al proposes 6,500. They asked for 8,500.
I think they actually asked for 11,000, correct?
I thought it was 12,000. I thought it was like
Oh,
11,500 or
okay,
12.
all right, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, I mean.
No, it's
you're
not
reading it.
reflective on here, but I'm pretty sure he said something like 12 or 12.5 or something in the meeting, but I never saw where they asked for that much.
either.
Yeah.
I think there's, Mr. Millsap, Chuck, I think there's a miscommunication with the town. He doesn't receive anything.
It was mailed.
Yeah.
It was mailed.
And he didn't return anything.
I know, but he's-
I was thinking you're right there.
So I didn't really get his till last Friday, when we were putting those books together, was the first time I'd laid eyes on what he had submitted.
What he's saying is he never gets anything from the town like the other people get. Don't you all send out stuff?
It was mailed to you, sir. Yes, sir. The same as the other, like the forms and things, it was mailed to
Okay,
you.
maybe he's not checking his PO box.
Maybe, can I make a, I mean, I don't know if y'all wanna change your process or not, but can you email it too? Is that too much trouble?
As long as we
Email.
have, yes, and a lot
As
of
long
times
as we
we
get valid email
Yes.
addresses, we can do either, can't we, Ken?
Yes.
And he said 2 years in a row, so. There might
You
be
got
some.
I'll
it
make
in
a
there.
note
I
to
didn't
check
have-
his address.
I didn't have it on here, Ken, what's the amount that they put in their proposal?
11,000 is what I
11.
have.
Yeah, I knew it was.
What do we want to do with Feeding America?
So,
I've got 8,500 they asked for, so I don't.
I've got 5,000. Al's got 6,500.
I did 8,500.
I think it's a worthy
I do
cause.
too.
Do we,
Oh, I do too.
I mean, not that any of
I do
them
too.
are unworthy, don't misunderstand me.
I do know that they get federal money too, but, I'm for
Let's go in
feeding
between.
people.
What if we did like 8,000?
County's doing 8,900.
Are they?
County's doing
8,900.
8,900.
That's what they recommend, 8,910.
If they're giving 8,900, and a lot more people in the county than there are in the town.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's do 7,000, how's that? What'd you say?
Al said 6,500 on that.
You said
What'd you
1,000?
say?
I had 5,000.
I had 8,500. Gotta decide,
Well, and if we're cutting everybody,
yeah.
How about 6? 6?
I said 7. I mean, I'm trying to come closer to you guys.
All right, let's come to some.
Okay.
I'm okay with 7. Somebody said 7.
Seven.
I'm okay with that, and that's close to what Al said. so.
7's all
You
right.
sound like an auction.
Yeah, that's right, we're doing an auction.
All right.
Animal Defense League, Al had 0. I had 0.
I have 0 too.
That's 3, so we'll move on. Oh, excuse me, go ahead, you say whatever you want to.
I know, I love animals too, I do, but I've got 0.
We've got a tight budget.
Golly.
Go ahead and say whatever you want to, sir.
Well, I hate not to give the animals anything. I mean, really. They do work hard. They spay and neuter cats, and there's a cat population, they feed it, I mean, it's,
That may not be a good thing.
Did they make a presentation? I don't remember seeing it.
No, I
no,
don't
they
think so.
didn't.
No, I don't think they were.
But it says last year, we didn't give them anything either, did we? 0?
Yeah.
Let me see what we did.
See, this year we go over 3 zeros.
I would forget it.
Well, the cat's got 9 lives, so,
All right, we got 4 people with 0s. So,
Ah,
yeah. Okay.
okay, well, I
Let's
tried,
move
you
on.
guys,
Yeah, I know.
okay.
Appalachian Independence Center, Al has 1,500. What do you guys have? Cindy? What do you think?
I'm okay with 1,500. He did come and present,
That's a good organization.
had a pretty compelling, I mean, really.
All right, I'm okay with 1,500.
I'm okay.
You
I'd be
You
happy to
okay
give,
with that? All right.
if we had the money, I'd be happy to give them more than they asked for.
Chucky, you got it, you got all this going, don't you?
And I'm trying to, Appalachian Independence Center, 1,500.
Yep.
Okay.
Appalachian Sustainable Development. Al's got 1,250.
I'm okay with that.
I had 0, but
I had 0.
Y'all ready? Do 1,000?
1,000's all right with me.
1,000.
That'll do.
All right.
A compromise.
Cindy, you
No,
all right
that's,
with
yes, sir,
1,000?
I'm fine with
All
that.
right, $1,000. Historical Society of Washington County, Al has 2,000. I had 2,700. What do you guys have?
I have 2,100.
I'll go with 25.
Derek?
I say we go between 2,250.
All right. I'm all right with 2,250.
That's kind of good.
Are you all right with 2,250?
Yes, I'm okay with that.
Donna?
Yeah, I'm
All right,
fine.
let's go 2,250. Al's got 160,000 for the barter. That's, I had 200,000.
Yeah, I had 200.
I think we're gonna have a hard time cutting.
Okay, well, we gotta cut some, so
I know,
if we,
I know.
we're not gonna get
You're
to
gonna have
this
a hard
number.
time making it balance.
I know.
Yeah.
If you don't do
I
something.
understand.
Yeah, we got it. Business
Oh, wait,
challenge.
did we decide on 200?
Can we come back to that?
We're gonna come back, we're gonna see where our totals are, we're gonna come back.
Okay.
Uh,
So we gotta cut a lot if we take all
Yeah, we
this.
got a lot to cut.
I know.
Brain injury, Al had 0, I have 0.
I have 0.
I have 0.
All right, Cindy, you all right with 0?
Yes.
Okay. Bristol Historical Association, well, wait a minute, no.
Business.
Business Challenge, Al has 0, I have 0.
Is that somehow tied to the
My
small?
thought is,
It is.
the EDA can do that if they want to. I don't see why we need to do it. They're asking for some facade money. As far as I know, we're gonna cut out the Main Street program, so they're not gonna need facade money, I don't think, are they, Chuck?
I wouldn't, that'd be a Tanya question, actually, because I'm not sure.
Mr. Schuman presented, and I think he had requested 10,000, then when he presented, he asked for another 6,000.
Yeah,
So
ended up
some of
at
that was the
16, yeah.
facade grants, from what I remember.
But the business challenge, doesn't that go hand in hand with the incubator? That
It's
just had the
Washington County
incubator
Chamber of
business.
Commerce.
See, I don't know if, can we cut that? I mean, is that part of what we're
Well,
tied
see,
into
you have an
contract-wise?
agreement with them, does that interfere with the agreement?
No.
Okay.
All right, got Al and I 0. We,
I had 3,000, but
what do you have, Derek?
What'd you think, Sid?
Well, I think we need to give some because it's for business. So 3,000.
I would be okay with 3,000.
All right, I'm all right with 3,000. Al, you all right? All right.
We'll see what the total comes out.
All right, Crossroads, community Christmas program, Al had 0, I've got 0.
I had 500.
Did we give them anything this year?
We didn't give them anything in the 2018-19 budget, no.
They,
I'm gonna say we don't start.
Okay, 0.
Yeah.
You may have paid it though out of out of last year's contingency. Though a lot of those smaller ones you all probably paid from those
I'm
last
not
year's.
sure they had
contingency.
that program this year at the bottom, did they?
I don't think, I can't remember.
I don't
if
It
they
do-
did.
It does look like we funded it from last year's contingency. Just
What
FYI.
was it,
Did
500?
we, let me look at that paper.
It's one of those things, if,
Are you-
you know,
are you
Mayor,
looking at this
you
one?
want to use your funds for it, you could.
yeah.
On the,
I see community Christmas program, but I see 0 right here.
on the far right.
Over to the
Very,
Oh,
very
front.
okay, I
right.
see, way over there,
Contingency.
funded from prior year's council contingency, okay. I got you, I've got the real
Well, if we
page.
find
Okay,
it-
let's leave it 0.
All right, 0, Chuck.
Okay.
Crossroads Medical Mission, they,
Looks like we gave them 5 last year in the contingency.
Yeah,
Crossroads Medical Mission, Al's got 0, we all got.
I think we need to give to this, this mission, and I would at least give them 5.
I put down 5,000.
I had 0 also.
But now, I probably did something wrong here anyway.
Well, could we
No.
do
I
that from
sort of
council
included some that
contingency?
we would be given in contingency.
We're just going to roll through and see where we are.
Is that a religious outfit?
It's,
I don't know if it's,
I don't
it is or
think
not.
it's
And what I didn't particularly care for is for all the Tri-Cities, and I don't know why.
I think they have certain days of the week they come to Abingdon in a
The
band.
Faith in Action.
Yeah.
Saturday,
It's
the
Faith in
General
Action.
It's that
And
they
I
were
will
there.
I
say-
think they help a
from
lot
the-
of people that
Yes,
can't
they
afford
do.
to go to
Okay.
doctor.
From the pharmacy side, I see a lot of their stuff.
Okay,
I
well,
do.
just keep in mind, we're gonna have to come back and cut it, though.
Sure.
All right,
So
What do we do with that one?
what do you wanna do, 5, is that what you got?
5,000.
Yes.
All right, they want 5, though.
5 for the Crossroad?
Yes.
Yes. Washington County Public Library.
It's already funded.
It's already
Washington
funded.
County Washington County Fair,
Okay, now remember what I told y'all.
Washington County Fair.
They
Washington
hit
County Fair, Al has,
$19,000.
19,000, hold on, I'll give you the exact figure.
That's,
$19,500 is what they get for rental, that's, and I'll give you the bill if you want it.
no, I believe you.
I believe you.
I'm surprised.
Here's what they say, for 15 days, it's 18,000, setup day 600, water 141.22, sewer 224.25, electric 385, ice 43.75, and hookup 100. That's the breakdown.
okay,
Well, I think what they were wanting here though is they wanted to do some repairs to their buildings.
Yeah, there's a roof.
Yeah, they said something
Yes,
about a
they
roof
asked for
repair.
24,000.
And
And
we got a
the
year's
county gives
10,000
them
for
what?
the roof project and
The
and
county,
another $4,923. So that's $14,923 total on this.
and the county gives them
the
$4,000.
county gives them 10. is
Oh, I'm
giving-
sorry. Go Go ahead.
The county is giving them 10,000 for their roof, they're asking 4,923 for their operation. They asked for 24,000 from us. I had $4,000 in there.
That's what I was thinking, yeah, 4,000.
I was looking at the wrong page. I'm sorry.
Okay? Pencil in 4,000. William King Art Center, Al had 54,000. Derek, what'd you have?
You know, honestly, I thought 55,000 was really kind of where, you know, we did a lot of work for them last year that wasn't planned. I think it ended up being almost $100,000 extra, so it seemed fair.
What'd you put down?
Did we pave
Yeah,
the parking lot as
graded off
well?
and paved.
Yeah, didn't you say we gave them 100,000 last year?
Yeah, we
Plus
gave them
the-
80,000 and then we did
$100,000
100,000
reward.
in work.
Yeah, and plus, well, I gave them 37,000. And since we added all that back to the barter, I mean, we gotta.
I had 45,000, what'd you have?
37.
37?
I had 55 in my mind, but I would go 50 if it makes y'all feel better.
Al had 54.
You let me balance.
Uh,
The funding
Yeah,
number.
I did the same thing, I made one that I thought would impress me.
What do you think, Cindy?
I'm all right with 50. All right,
50.
it's within 50. The Meals on Wheels, we gave them 10,000 last year out of the council contingency. Al's recommending 0, I had 0.
Not 10,000. These are people that cannot get out and do anything. They can't get meals.
Yeah.
They're shut in and.
Believe it or not, I've heard a lot of good
Yeah.
things about that program.
Yeah,
and a lot of
they
need.
get 2 meals.
The- Let me explain
I send
something
them
to
a
you.
check.
The
I send
reason
them a
I-
personal check about every month.
The reason I'm recommending 0 for Meals on Wheels is that I think Natalie would like for us to give all to the community center so she has some flexibility.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
And
so
that's-
We need to be looking at the total.
Okay. And that's fine, but I just want the public to know that we're
yeah,
not
we're
taking
not cutting
Meals
the
on
meal,
Wheels.
you know, we're not taking Meals
Yeah.
on Wheels, we're just letting her
We're
divvy it
letting
out
her
how she sees
do
fit.
how she
Yeah.
sees
Okay.
fit,
That's
yes.
That's
I'm
pretty-
okay with that.
All right.
So how much did you
Al had 20,000 for the.
I can't afford that if you got 20 million. I can't afford 20 million.
Oh.
Natalie didn't hear that.
Okay. Al had 20,000 for the community center. Let me see what I had.
Well, I had 15.
You had 15.
Yeah, and 10, but I had 10 for Meals on Wheels.
So you had 25.
So I had 25
You
total.
had 25 total? I don't know what I had.
25.
I'm all right with 25.
Yeah, if we're moving money over so she has control of the Meals on
And
Wheels, I'm okay
you know,
with
we're
that.
putting 2 pickleball courts over there, so.
Right, no, I'm okay with that.
You all right with 25?
Yes, I am.
All right. White's Mill Foundation, Al had 0, I had 0. What did y'all have?
I would love to fund it, however, I see the necessity of not funding it if we don't have the money.
Yeah,
We don't have the money.
It's not in the town, so.
All right,
all right.
0.
0.
Ecumenical Faith in Action, heating, there, we gave them 10,000 last year, they asked for 12,500.
Okay.
Before we decide, Mr. Pittum recommends that we not give them anything for operations because it's a faith-based organization and, you know, it may be questionable whether we should be giving to a faith-based organization or not.
So you're saying,
Do whatever you want to do in the operations if you agree with Mr. Benham. I agree with, I'm a Christian, as you well know, but we can't be giving money to church.
Well,
We can give to their operations like Meals on Wheels and things like that, but funding their operation is sort of like funding a religious group. So whatever we give them, we need to give it to them in under the heating item. That's where they write the checks and groceries. So you can add the two together and put it up there like we're
Okay.
doing.
So you're saying
community center.
nix the operations just so we don't get into.
Right.
Okay. And then do.
Give
it-
them whatever you want to.
Well, I have 17,000.
Total,
Yeah.
total. I really think we need to do at least 15 if we can. I mean, that's a good organization, even if we lump it all into heat.
I had 12.5, but I'm all right with 15.
Let's go with 15, that's,
All right.
okay with everybody?
All right, small business indicator is incubators in the budget. Abington Main Street, Al's got 0, I've got 0.
May I speak up?
Yes.
I received a phone call from Ms. Deering this afternoon, and she wanted to make sure that you understood that contracts have already gone out for the Busker Fest, and rooms and meals are always provided by the Abington Main Street. She said at this point, that budget is $10,000 that she needs money for to carry forth Busker Fest. So that, I told her I would convey it since she wasn't able to be here.
Okay.
I don't know what you all think about that.
Let's come back to that one.
We skipped that.
I say let's see if it's 0 and.
We got it in.
I wanted to just say something about the Abington Farmers Market real quick. I did try to contact the director over that and by email to find out if they did any more fundraising. And I didn't see anything on, they didn't have a paper that we had in this notebook.
The farmer's market?
The farmer's market,
Yeah.
and I asked him to provide that. I sent him a copy of blank one, and I didn't get anything back. I don't know if he didn't check his email, but I did ask if there was any other, to get him to fill that out. So unfortunately, I didn't get that information from him, so I don't know if they've got any more
I skipped
fundraising.
over there, I'm sorry, Cindy.
No, you did. You said
So,
Abington's Farmers
I mean,
Market.
from what I'm seeing, we didn't give anything last
We
year.
didn't.
Okay.
So,
All right, that's,
But I just wanted to present that
Sure,
opportunity,
sure.
so, okay.
all right, the Veterans Park, Al's got 35,000.
They'd originally asked for 75.
Yeah.
75,000.
Well, I think we're fixing to give them 10. 10 out
No,
of the.
10 is, let me make sure everybody's clear on this. Emmett is gonna ask for $10,000. Emmett is gonna ask for $10,000, is what Al told me, at the next meeting. That will come out of our our existing contingency. That'll be $10,000 if we agree to it, and I'm for it, and I think I've talked to all of you. Everybody's for it. It's to finish the bathrooms.
Sure.
So we pretty much gotta do that, I think. The 35 that he's asking for is in addition to the 10 we're giving him, and that's for next year. And I'm not sure exactly what that's for.
He's gonna be telling you about that at the next meeting.
So-
We
They've
gotta
got
come back.
quite a few things.
I penciled in 25,000, in myself.
I only did 10.
What?
I only did 10.
Well, we could pencil in whatever you all think and then decide later what we do about it. What are you thinking?
Mr. Banner?
Yes.
Can we wait till April the 1st to decide on that 35, or do we have to do it tonight?
Well, I think Mr. Brown gave me directions. I was supposed to get you a balanced budget by
Tonight, okay.
April the 1st, so I can't balance it if I don't have an idea of what you want to do.
Absolute deadline is that we have to put the ad in the paper April
At the
15th. So is that the deadline for submitting it or the
Yes.
publication?
For submitting it.
So by then, we have to have everything balanced and.
I gave you kind of a summary sheet. I don't know if y'all saw that, where we're at currently. So, I mean, we're a lot closer than we were, but
Right.
What I was thinking is, if we put in 20 or 25, and we get to a balanced budget, we can always, if it causes Emmett a problem, we can always fund it out of next year's contingency.
Right,
We've
that's
got
exactly right.
$42,000.
Yeah.
Is that all right with everybody? Anybody object to that?
I don't see.
All right. Poston
So what are we
Mountain,
doing with that then?
Similar.
25, I think. Poston Mountain Artisans, Al has 2,500. I had 4,000, but I'm all right with 2,500.
I have 2,500 too.
I think 2,500 is
All
okay.
right, Cindy, you all right with that? Okay. Holston, Glade Spring Tractor Club, I understand that's in our budget.
And Kevin Worley's,
Okay.
Rotary Frolics, 850, Al's got 0, I'm all right with 0.
I did 500.
You want 500 in there?
Was that the advertisement? Is that what that was for the
Probably
frolics?
is.
Because our picture was in that book.
It's probably the ad,
I think that's.
but
what
we
it
don't have
was.
to have a picture.
Rotary Club.
Can I look?
I mean, I just want to make sure we understand.
It sounds like
I
an ad.
think it was the ad, wasn't it?
Sounds like an ad. It was the ad.
Well, let's,
And I'm okay with 500.
Are you looking for something?
no, it's okay, go ahead.
All right. Symphony in the Mountains, of the Mountains, we gave them 0 last year. Al was recommending 0, I recommend 0.
Did we do 500 for the Rotary Frolics or 0?
850, I think it's what we did last year.
I know,
The Rotary-
what-
I mean, I'm okay with 500 if y'all.
Rotary Frolics, 500 for
Nobody-
everybody.
Nobody said yes.
500.
okay.
All right, y'all wanna do 500? Okay. Symphony of the Mountains, everybody all right with 0?
Yes.
Yeah, they're out of Kingsport.
All right, Virginia Cultural Heritage Friends of Southwest Virginia. Al's got 0, I've got 0.
I got 0.
Everybody's agreeable to 0, sounds right. Appalachian Sustainable Development, Al's got 0, I've got 0.
I got 0.
Okay. 0 on that one?
Rotary Frolics found it in there twice.
Yeah. Economic Development Authority.
So, I believe he asked for 16,000, just so y'all know, not that that should
He,
sway.
he mentioned 2,000 for this and 2,000
Yeah,
for
2
that.
and 4 and 10, I think, is what he was asking
Yeah,
for.
what do y'all wanna do with that?
What did we do last year?
Al, let's see, Al suggested,
It looks like.
7,500.
Al suggested 7,500.
I went 5,000.
I'm okay with 7,500.
Yeah.
I think 5,000.
Go in between. 6,500.
6.
6?
6.
I'm all right with 6. All right. Is that all of it, Chuck?
Redevelopment housing.
We got the Housing
The Housing Authority and Creek Patrol.
I'm sorry. All right, the Housing Authority, Al had 22. I had 50.
Oh, I see, so you put the 28 from the contingency.
Oh, he took the
So
28
you
from the
you
contingency.
essentially had
Okay.
50.
All right, okay.
So you had
All right,
50.
so you got 50. All right.
Bottom line,
Okay.
I had 42.
All right. Cindy, you all right at 50?
I'm all right with 50.
All right.
and that's the 22 for,
Yeah.
and plus the 28 from contingency.
Yes.
The Virginia Creek Patrol,
I have 0.
they asked for 10. I had 0. I think Al is of the opinion that Al has got 6,100. He's of the opinion that money is used to operate the Finley House. Do you know, Chuck? Or
No, the
Well,
Finley
now-
House has its own budget.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think,
Yeah. I understood that last year that they came and presented, but they only asked for 1 year.
I think last year they were
That's
doing a
what,
study
that's
or
what I
something.
remember.
Yeah.
It was for a study
Yeah.
Yeah.
for them to get some money. So I agree with 0.
Kevin has money in his budget also for maintenance of the trail.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so-
I asked Kevin, and he said that they do projects along the trail, but along the whole trail, so it may not necessarily be in.
In Avenue. Yeah, that's, I'm okay with
All right, so what's our total, Chuck?
We're 0 now.
221, 250,
it. Without the,
without there's
Barter
some
there.
blanks in here. District 3's funded, you don't have to worry
Yeah.
about that one.
Barter
barter.
Theater.
Barter,
Put 200 in, we're at 421, is that right?
put 200, yeah.
Let's just see what happens.
Library's funded.
Did you get
Incubator's
anything for the
funded.
medical mission?
Yeah, I think we did 5,
5,000.
didn't we? Yeah.
But, Main Street is the only one that you
So we're 421, 250. And that's with the contingency in there, so that would put us at what? We'd be at 413? Just with the
Your
contingency.
contingency, let me pull up this other
That's
spreadsheet.
pretty close. We got closer than I thought we would first time around.
Is that
Well, it
with
seemed
the,
like
Here's
there was
where
another one. we had.
385 and 42, so you've got to give 10, you said you'd give 10 of that on Monday night? Is that correct?
Yes.
So we're getting close, man.
So how much?
So 50.
how much we gotta cut, Chuck?
Give us that's what I'm trying to get to. I'm on mine, I don't know.
5 or 7,000.
We're giving away 10 of it on Monday night, the balance
Then
of
we don't have to cut it,
housing
then we
authority.
can take it out of contingency.
No, I'm adding them together. I'm
Yeah,
I'm
he
adding them
put
in my
them
mind, I'm
together.
adding them together.
Okay.
Yeah.
417,
See, look, we were at 5.
417.
So we're 5 there, 5 grand away.
417.
I figured Wayne just threw that in
That's
himself.
giving 10,000 out of your contingency on Monday night and then
If we decide to
exhausting
do
the
that.
rest of it.
Okay.
Ms.
So
Kingsley, can I ask Ms. Kingsley a question?
Sure, of course.
I wasn't trying to interrupt you. I can't find the Virginia Creek Patrol unless I'm overlooking the pages. Did they put anything in here? I just wanted to see if they
We
needed
just have a
it.
budget request form.
I don't think they came or
they came.
anything.
I don't think so, but our
No, they-
book,
Yeah,
they're not asking for anything then, are they?
Well, yeah, they said to.
Chuck has a request of some kind, he wouldn't have put it in there.
Okay.
It's a very small, like,
It may just be a request. form.
yes, they did.
Oh, they did, okay. I see the paper here, but there's no request in our book. So,
What's the number, Chuck?
Well, you're all at 421, 250. I mean, if y'all happy with that, I think Ken and I can come up with the rest.
I mean, we're
What do
close.
you, what do
You're
you,
417.
We're 5 grand away.
Main Street, I think we ought to give 0. That's what I think.
What's that?
I think we ought to give Main Street 0, that's my opinion. I don't wanna give that organization any money.
We left that hanging.
The only
If we-
thing, I
whatever
think
we-
Kim was, I'm sorry.
Excuse me. Whatever we need to do relative to these contracts, we'll have to do it. But I'm sure they don't care where their money comes from, whether it comes from the town. I think Tanya and Jane can handle that. May have to give them some money, $10,000, I guess. Chuck, I don't understand what you're telling us.
47, you're within $4,000.
If we took off $4,000, we would be good.
Yeah.
If we take off $4,000,
Yeah, but he said he could probably find the money if we leave.
don't we have a contingency of the council still
So it's-
left?
Well, I added that in there.
Oh, you did already?
Yeah,
Takes it all
I added those two numbers together.
Oh, okay.
okay, so we need to cut 4,000.
Yeah.
Let me, have a hard time seeing it.
I'm using my calculator, y'all. I'm not using my phone for a phone.
What did we do for the business challenges?
Did
Three,
3, I
wasn't it?
think.
Are you looking at funding some of it out of the contingency?
Yeah, then we'll have to use part of that contingency to fund some of this, but I'll just have to.
Now, you got the ideas. You got the ideas.
The town managers.
What are we trying to do?
Take
Cut back $4,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I think they're saying that they can find the 4,000 if we're
I'm
okay.
not hearing that, so.
We're
You're
talking
saying you
that,
can find the 4,000?
He's got it in his, like he's.
this year's
He's got it.
budget, there is
Mr.
town manager's contingency, and that has, very little of that has been spent this year, so it's possible that we could transfer the $4,000 from manager to council contingency.
Have we done enough work tonight?
Yeah.
Good
Okay.
job.
All right.
Okay, good.
Well, thank you, guys. It's been a hard chat.
We've got in that contingency.
And I want to say something to the town council. I really appreciate us working together.
Well, I appreciate you too,
Around,
Jane.
around 20.
And thank Al again for
Yes,
Yes,
thank
Al
you,
says
sticking
Al.
his neck out there.
Thank you, Al.
If anybody asks me why we cut it, I'm going to say Al Bradley.
Al Bradley.
Right back to my old job of town scapegoat.
Well, I thought you were brave.
We did give you a sheet today showing projects that would be potentially funded out of bond issue.
This is what's in the budget, right, Ken?
That is in the budget, the $700 and some odd $1,000.
And
There is $180,000 additional that would be recommended to be put in the following budget that would go to the historic house at the Meadows. And about $48,000, I believe, was the amount that would round it off to an even $1 million issuance. And that would be any interest or legal and bonding costs that you would have for doing that.
Wait a minute, are we talking about another bond for the historic properties? I don't like that idea.
I don't either.
we're talking about a bond that has money for some historic properties in it, but it's also got sidewalks, it's got, we got a list of it here.
Yeah,
Fields Pen Retirement, Virginia Creek Parking, Railroad Pedestrian Crossing, would you like me to go on?
some of those items are
I've got to find it.
match for grant programs.
It's about $1 million.
I can't find my sheet now.
You want mine?
That's not what I'm looking for. This is what's in the budget. Oh, yeah, it's got the bond in it. We got that East Main Street drainage in there, Al?
Is that this thing?
It looks like the Elsa's landscape.
Yes.
Oh,
I thought you gave us one that had $1 million on it.
no, right here, this one. Right here it is. Let me show you. Right, I think it's there. Yeah, right here. Right.
Oh, okay.
What we had proposed for the upcoming budget was the West Main Street. There's $210,000 in VDOT funds
No, he's talking about this, Al, I'm sorry. He's talking
and
about
$70,000 match. The Park Street, $1.1 million in VDOT money with a $24,266 match. The Creeper Trail, $277,668 with $73,917 match. Then the proposed urban path pedestrian crossing improvements estimated at $100,000. Creeper Trail head improvements, which is that leased parking lot, putting curb gutter, sidewalks, and crosswalk to the Finley House, estimated at $100,000. $25,000 towards the East Main Street drainage study. That's and then on the historic properties, $175,000 to complete the work on the Fields Pen, and that would be both the front and the rear addition interior work. Retirement estimated at $200,000, a total of $768,183 that would be in this year's budget. We also had the remaining or money to go towards the house in the Meadows to complete the interior renovations of that. Would probably not be needed until the following budget. But we would recommend in the bond issue doing $1 million and having the money available at that time to plug into next year's budget to do that work, I guess in the 2021 budget cycle.
But that's the bond issue that's already been done, that's,
No.
we're not talking, are we talking about a separate bond issue?
This would be additional money to
Sorry, we're supposed to have $1 million in that $10 million bond issue for the historic properties.
The sports complex is gonna cost more than,
Well, we cut back on the sports complex.
I don't think we could cut back on the sports complex and have.
Yes, we can.
And have a sports complex, well, I don't know.
All of it tied together is why we don't have a lot of money, people.
All of them?
I said, all of this tied together is why we don't have a lot of money.
Oh, what are you talking about?
You know, what,
Oh, that, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
I
I
was
think-
talking about the bond issue. We're talking about adding, we're approved for $12 million worth of bonds.
So we're talking about tapping into the extra 2 million to create $1 million of.
That's right. We're talking, they're meeting with Davenport on Friday to discuss that. As far as how much we've got for historic properties, I mean, you add all this up and we probably are spending $1 million for historic
You
properties.
cannot borrow ourselves out of debt. Go ask the friends down in Bristol.
Say again
We
now?
cannot borrow ourselves out of debt. I mean, go ask your friends down in Bristol.
Well, if we either do that, raise taxes, or not do capital improvements, one
see,
or the other.
that's what I was afraid of, because this sports field complex is gonna cost a lot of money. It's at least.
Well, we
a
have to do
seven-
the sports
I know, well, hang
We have
on.
to do some of it.
It's, yeah, we do. It's over a $7 million project.
I'm all for the sports complex, $9 million worth.
Yep, I am too, but this is what I was afraid of. You know, it would have to come to raise tax, because how are we gonna pay for it?
Yep.
And I'm
One
not
of
saying
the-
that I'm against the sports field complex, I want that clear. I'm not against the sports field complex, I want it for our kids.
Well, the bottom line is, I think the Recreation Committee and the consultant have a phase one, if I'm right, if I'm not right, Ken, straighten me out. They have a phase one that will make our sports complex functional for what we want it for. As far as, if we do that, out of the $10 million bond issue, we don't have anything left for historic properties. We're trying to fix up our historic properties for, partially in our budget, partially in our,
A bond issue.
the additional bonds. Whether that adds up to $1 million, I don't know. But if you don't want to borrow the additional $1 million, we're not gonna be able to do our capital improvements. And we're not gonna complete our sports complex to what they consider to be a usable. I'm not saying that because I'm not part of that committee or anything, but that's the choices that we got.
I was under the impression they were doing the sports complex in phases,
Well,
or
they-
alternates, additive alternates, so that they could pick and choose depending on what the
They are,
price level
and
takes.
it may come in under that, but they're projecting.
We need to see that before we have this argument, but I don't want to borrow more money.
Ken may be.
I think what you're gonna find with the sports complex is you're really not gonna know till you open bids.
Right.
And that's why I think there are some numbers that I question. We had a discussion this week about landscaping and trees. There's 150 trees at $750 a piece. That seems like a pretty healthy markup
Dang.
on planting trees.
Oh my goodness, what size are they?
Well, would be good size, probably 2 to 3 inch diameter, 8 to 10 foot trees, so that you have, you're not planting the saplings, you're gonna have something that would look, be contractor planting them, and a 1-year guarantee from the nursery. So if one dies, they would replace it in that first year. Talked to Kevin Sigmund. He feels comfortable, and I feel comfortable after talking with him, is saying the price per tree is more realistically in the $350 to $400 range. So that's a significant markup on trees. That's part of, we're gonna have a meeting between now and April 1st with Stevie Steele, and I think he needs to start sharpening his pencil down a little bit. The landscaping, it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to call a couple of landscapers and, how much does a tree, how much would it cost me to get 150 maple, spruce, and oak trees? Most local nurseries would probably fall all over themselves to put a bid in on that. It may again be something, do the landscaping at the tail end as a separate bid, so you're not paying the contractor, but when you get the general contractor done, bring the landscaper in, dig holes, plant trees. So you may be working with a local nursery directly on something like that. And as I've said several times, the budgets for Green Springs Road, the sports complex, were done. I knew there was a problem the first time I talked to CHA, and they said they did not know if they were designing to a budget or if the town was budgeting to a design. And so I think he basically put together a design that included all the things he heard at all the public meetings that people wanted. And he had that design done. Everybody just took it and assumed, and I don't know that the question was ever asked, how much are you putting for a, because he had a $10.1 million initial cost estimate on the whole 9 yards. And when you got a $10 million design, and you're doing a project with a $10 million bond that is split between more than one project, and that's what we've been trying to do, is pull this thing together. I think there's about 6.2 million of the bond money that is still available. You got to finish out Green Springs Road, which hopefully will be done in the not too distant future. We have told the contractor that for Green Springs Road, there is $0 in the budget that Chuck and I have been working on putting together. So they need to finish Green Springs Road by June 30th. We're going to have conversations tomorrow with them because it looks like army ants over the commercial area and nothing going on the road. That road needs to have a priority and get it done. Get the connection back down to Green Springs Road and have that ready to open up. So there needs to be some emphasis put on that, but I don't know that there ever was realistically money to do Green Springs Road, the sports complex, and I've heard anywhere from $1 to $2 million on historic homes. This would be a way to move forward on all of that. I think, again, I would point out is, Mr. Banner has broken it down. You have a $13.3 million general fund operation fund. He's broken out all of the capital projects. There's $9.6 million in capital projects. That's a lot of capital to do in one budget year. And part of it is, as you see, all of the items that we're looking at putting into bond, a lot of those are matches for grant money. You're doing 3 or 4 road projects at a time. Each of those, a lot of grant money coming in, and I love grant money, but you need to be aware that there's local matches to each of those. And I think that's why the capital budget capital improvements plan needs to move up in priority. You've got the comprehensive plan underway, and over the next year, hopefully, we can get a new capital budget put together so that you can look and plan. If you've got $4 million that you can spend on capital projects in a year, then you need to schedule them out year by year so that you don't have a year like this where you're doing a lot of capital projects. if you weren't doing all those projects, the budget would be a breeze because we could balance the operational budget easily. I mean, at $26 million total revenue and 13 mil, and that includes your sewer fund. So you need about 17 million to do sewer and general fund operations. The difference is what you can spend in a year on capital without coming up with, you know, and I think that's part of the pinch this year, is there's a lot of things that are underway and on the plate to do. Some of them are funded, at least mostly. I think Mr. Banner indicated to me early on was he doesn't like to play with monopoly money. Well, there's still a few little gaps that, you know, the private funding, the grants that would supplement the more of those that come to pass, the easier it's going to be to finish up the sports complex and maybe add in a few of the phase 2 projects instead of having to cut move additional phase 1 into phase 2. But
Well, Ken, all we're doing April 1st is approving the budget. We're not approving the bond issue, right?
no, but I think council needs to be aware that the budget as we've planned it would require that additional bond money to pay for those, to fully fund all of those capital projects.
So we are basically agreeing to that tonight. If you don't want to do the capital projects, and if you're not comfortable with it, we got 2 choices. We can just not do them. We got 3 choices. We can just not do them. We can increase our some taxes, get the additional revenue and fund that out of the additional revenue, or just not do them. So,
You're not gonna know what that cost is until you get the bids back.
Get the bids.
I'm talking about this right here.
Well, I want to say this, in all due respect, we've inherited a lot of capital improvement projects, and because it got kicked down, the can got kicked down the road, and they didn't spend the money on the capital improvement projects, and the sewer is a nightmare. I know that we have to keep our infrastructure up because we have to live here as well. It's important to do that. I wouldn't want the sewer to collapse.
The sewer center is not in the capital improvement. The sewer, we're gonna fund that out of the sewer.
Sewer,
And
yeah.
if we need capital improvements, we're gonna apply for VRA loan, and that'll be paid out of the sewer fund, not the general. We're talking about the general.
I mean, this bond that he's talking about is only for capital projects like West Main Street, Park Street, Creeper Trail, Head. That's all we're talking
No,
about. We're not
he's
talking
talking,
about.
this is what we're talking about. This is $1 million here.
Yeah,
It's the historic properties that
Right.
were supposed to be included in the $10 million bond issue that we've already done.
see, I never, was that ever on record? I mean, I never.
Yes, it was. and it's
In the 10
minutes.
million.
Yeah.
I understand, I haven't read it, and I can't confirm it, but I understand it was in the bond resolution.
Okay.
I asked, is that right?
The paperwork, the discussions, historic properties was one of the 3 items that the bond issue could be used for. I've not seen anything that specifically said how much of each, how much went to each project. And
I mean, I don't have a problem. I'm all for the historic properties, but like I said, I think we have to look at the big picture. The complex is an entire complex, not just a sports complex or a commercial development, or a road for that matter. It all works in unison to create more tax revenue. If we didn't fulfill our obligations with the sports complex, it would be detrimental to both sides. I mean, I just,
There's $9 billion worth of money to spend on it. I mean, I don't know.
but where are you coming up with $1 million? I mean, I don't understand. It's not in any document.
I can give you the references, but I don't have them with me. But,
Yeah, I think one of the problems was no one ever sat down and did
right.
a separate budget for Green Springs Road, a separate budget for the sports complex, and a separate budget for historic properties, added them together and that come up with 10 million. There was 10 million and everything's being paid out of that line of credit for both. It doesn't take into consideration I think there's probably going to be, all said and done, maybe $150,000 in change orders to the Green Springs Road, which decreases the amount, as that goes up, the amount of bond money left decreases. Now, I'm not real sure how accurate the numbers are in the estimate on the sports center. I'm hoping that, I know that they're probably significantly high on the landscaping piece, particularly for trees. I don't know about the rest of it, and that is where you're paying about $750,000 in engineering fees for the expertise of CHA. They need to help walk through that process. And as Stevie Steele will tell you, you're not gonna know till you open the bids.
All of you all know that I was opposed to the project. There's no secret. But one thing Derek says makes all the sense in the world to me. If we don't do the project the way it was planned, we're run the risk of not generating the revenue to pay the debt that we've already created. And that, to me, makes no sense. So what looks to me to make sense is to go ahead and issue or plan on another $1 million. And we probably get $1 million, and Ken can add it up, but we probably get the money for the historic properties, and we get what was intended to be done. So, I feel much safer with that, and if you're not comfortable with the $1 million additional bonds, we can raise the real estate tax at 2 cents, and it'll pay for the debt service, I feel sure. So,
And without the revenues, we won't even be able to
so
pay.
that seems like to me a good plan, that's all.
Well, when I look at this page here, it says $7,220,000 for a sports field complex. And, I mean, that's just an estimate. We don't have the real figure on how much the entire sports field complex is gonna cost us. And that's what I was afraid of going into this.
Well, but you
is-
never know.
Can I, let me,
Like-
just 1 second, okay? Just give me a second, please, and all due respect. I'm gonna finish what I'm saying. So you've got this, we don't know how much it's gonna cost. The other thing that we've not talked about and touched on is how much money that it's gonna take to maintain the sports field complex. And if you talk to Martinsville and the sports field complex up there, I think that's around $300 and some thousand a year. Now, I'm not saying that's what it's gonna cost us down here, but you're gonna also have to figure that in as well. And the bottom line is this sports field complex gonna cause us to have to raise taxes for the town of Abingdon? Yes or no? We don't know that. We're gonna have to figure out how much money this sports field complex is gonna cost.
You can't know till the bonds, till the bids go out. There's no way to know.
Well,
And like you said before, we inherited this, this wasn't something I was on council when it was decided. However,
well, that's why we're sitting here marking all these numbers down, because we inherited this mess.
right, I
And
agree.
I don't like it because we have to cut all these funds, but we have no choice. And that's what I wanted to start out with tonight, is to tell the public and everybody why that we have to do this. And I think that they deserve to know. They need to know why we have to do it. Well, we inherited it, okay? That's my opinion. Y'all can have your own, but that's what happened.
Best case scenario, if you open the bids on the sports complex and they come in significantly lower than the estimates that we've been given by the engineer, then you can reevaluate as to whether or not you actually need, you know, if the 7.2 is $1 million high, then you may have $1 million flexibility to go back and not have to borrow additional money to fund these projects. But at this stage, and, you know, I commend Chuck, he's worked diligently. We've lost a few hairs in the process, but we have got to where initially we felt we were going to have to recommend to council this year that you look at a 2 to 4 cent tax increase. We're close enough that I think we will be able to present you in the next week with a budget balanced, not requiring a tax increase. Fallback would be if you want to do these projects and you don't want to borrow $1 million, you're probably going to have to look at that 2 to 3 cent tax increase.
But the tax increase actually just generated, what?
Penny, 78,000.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are several of these that we're recommending, like the 3 VDOT projects, taking as local match. You don't want to give back about $2 million in grant money. So you're going to want to fund that 150, that's 2 cents. The other projects, you could put off the urban path crossing, the creeper trail improvements, and the work on the historic houses for the next budget cycle. And those don't have a revenue source attached to them, they don't have matching money attached to them. So those projects could be deferred a year if council chose to do that and not borrow the money. But, you know, recognizing that the 3 VDOT projects that we said, let's fund the match through the bond, we'd have to come back and try, and I don't think there's 150 more than what we need to cut out that we can squeeze easily.
All right, I don't want to stay here all night, so we need to decide something. Mr. Vinham thinks we need to decide on the bond issue.
Well, I think what you need is to be aware that the budget, and when we present it to you balanced, will include the recommendation that these projects be funded with an additional bond.
Okay. Is everybody all right with that or not? He needs to know that.
I'm okay with it, if they were gonna
I'm
borrow.
not happy with that additional bond at all.
Okay. All right, well, I'm for the additional bonds of this 3. So, let's move ahead.
I think that just needs to be clear to council as we move forward into the budget, that if you adopt the budget as it's now written, it does include the recommendation for that additional debt service.
Did you adjourn?
Thank you, guys.
Did we adjourn?
Okay.
I don't think the ones in the back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Vice Mayor, would you adjourn us?
We are now adjourned. Thank you.